Hello and welcome to the second unofficial review of Affliction Esports, the Gold League. I am joined today by Boss Troll, ADHD, Stand Ready, and Richard Blow, and we are going to go over Week 4 and making some predictions for Week 5. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, here's the Week 4 results. Kind of interesting. I don't know, man. A lot of games went to 3 instead of just 2, so that was good. And yeah, I don't know.
French got upset.
Yeah. So the big things I see are the trench upset, as well as it's interesting that it was by Hibernation, I believe, right? A team that is kind of like a mid-tier team upsetting one of the undefeated teams. So I find that pretty interesting, and also the fact that all these games are like 2-1 games just tells me that these teams kind of are working things out and trying to figure out, what they want from the drafts and how that's going to work together.
They also just go. We got some LPL energy in this league. Everyone fights.
Yeah, honestly though.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd call that a good thing.
No one said
Hey,
it was.
It's good for the spectators.
I will say that like from some of the stuff I watched this weekend, I spent a good deal of time like watching the VODs on YouTube. I've actually been watching my own team's games, the Lit Club mostly, and haven't watched too many other teams. But in preparation for this, I went back and watched some of the games, and I think a lot of the fights are kind of random, right? They're just like all over the place, like not really like the kind of turret dives that you usually see in professional plays. Just kind of like somebody's caught and then everybody collapses around it, right? So I think that vision is something that has played a big part in a lot of the wins because it's like the team that gets collapsed on loses and the team that is collapsing wins. So the aggressor is kind of getting rewarded a lot in this league, I think.
Well, yeah, we're also gold, not challenger.
Yes.
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 Slight rank
Oh, no,
difference,
not criticizing. Not criticizing. Simply saying what I'm observing.
Slight rank difference. It's only
Yes.
like
Yes.
I don't know, a couple hundred LP, maybe a couple
TSM,
thousand LP.
scout me. How much we're gonna get for you, anyways?
Yes.
Anyways, let's move on to actually the more specific of each game. So first up, we have Listen to Your Heart with a 2-1 victory over Oasis, and here is Game 1.
Wiggy Wonka proving that he is not to be slept on.
Honestly,
Yeah.
though.
Actually
On the
upsetting.
Malzahar.
Yeah.
On the Malzahar too, which is interesting. Usually when you see Malzahar, he doesn't have like this huge score line. He just kind of is an alt bot, right? So seeing him go 8-0 is pretty insane.
Yeah, his Malzahar is his most played champion on OPGG.
It does
he's usually
jive
pretty
very well
consistent.
with their general strat of let's put it all on Razor Leaf. Had a very good defensive sort of phalanx with the Nami into the Malzolt, into the Jinxie.
Yep.
Which, Oasis broke themselves on.
Yeah, you hate to see it.
The one thing I'm seeing in draft that sticks out to me is it seems like the draft from the losing team, I can't recall if it is already. Oasis is really disjointed because they have kind of 2 or 3 backline characters with the Corki, Senna, and the Karma, and Cho'Gath with the defensive peeler, and then the Rek'Sai is kind of like the odd person out, right? Because Rek'Sai wants to dive, and maybe they're thinking that Rek'Sai is kind of the bridge in the early game, and I'm a huge Rek'Sai stan, but it just doesn't really seem to fit with the comp too much. I would have preferred to see something that kind of is a defensive peeler to make sure that Corki and Senna can kind of get their backline damage off.
Yeah, I agree.
And speaking of jungles, how do you guys all think of the Udyr right now?
Udyr's insane.
Udyr's ridiculous.
He also has a really good matchup. He has a super good matchup into Rek'Sai, so I don't know what the draft order looked like, but
Okay, so when I'm noticing, this is definitely just me being all personal preference, but Comet and what's the slow field fist called now? Frozen Fist? Is that just what it is?
Yeah.
Either way.
Crossfire Gauntlet?
Yeah, Frostfire Gauntlet.
Whatever it is.
I do not agree with Comet and Frostfire on Cho'Gath. I'm a Grasp of the Undying and Chem Tank person.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because, especially against Ornn, you can just trade with Ornn as Cho'Gath. What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
W?
Feathers, question mark. We'll have to see if that's new meta, maybe? He may have found it early. I don't know.
Going beyond just the lane, because he didn't go Chem Tank, Rek'Sai was kind of left out to dry.
Honestly, though.
Yeah, it's pretty awkward.
She cannot go in alone.
That's a Conqueror Rek'Sai.
Yes.
Conqueror is viable on Rek'Sai, and honestly, it's fine into double tanks with the Ornn and Udyr. Even though you normally see the Hail Blades, Conqueror is fine into tankier teams, so I'm not totally upset about that.
Yeah.
Conqueror Jinx. That's a bit more interesting, though.
Yeah, but with what we've seen so far from these teams, I mean, a little weird is to be expected. So
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that one's too bad either. It's a little weird, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
All right, a little less
Valid.
specific. I want to say Listen to Your Heart has been improving quite a bit, and with Oasis being a coin flip team every week, it's not too surprising to see Listen actually pull out a win here.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited for them. I
Yeah.
think that they're a team with a lot of potential.
I agree.
They're starting to turn into one of the stronger team fighters on the league, which is going to be scary for most of these teams.
And most teams win through 5v5 fights mid game.
Yeah.
moving on to game 2. This time it's a feat.
I'll be
Takano with
honest.
the clapback.
One guy we have as I don't know if we technically call him coaching staff, but that's the best way I can use. Him and ADHD here don't really, for the most part, don't really like Syndra and gold play, just because what you pick Syndra for is not something that you're gonna really need in gold level play.
Yeah. The reason you pick Syndra in competitive settings is because she's a pretty safe blind pick that has that is pretty good at everything, but doesn't really particularly excel at any one thing. Usually in gold leagues, it's like this. It's better to pick champions that are kind of like on the extreme end of one side because it's a narrower win condition, which is easier to execute. In a lot of cases, that sounds weird to say, but like if you're playing Yone, right, you want your jungler to come gank you constantly and get kills in the lane. Even though it's narrower, it's the planning phase is easier, even if the execution might be a little harder. So I think that Syndra is kind of almost too open, and players can't really utilize that kind of open play style very well in gold. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I
I
don't like
agree
the
with that.
Olaf build here at all.
The Olaf build here is a little weird. I was about to say the same. It's a little
Yeah.
interesting.
He finished a Thormail into a team that does probably more AP than they do AD. Also
Yeah.
didn't finish boots on the champion that runs at people.
Yeah, a little weird. I don't know. I don't like the Thornmail.
A lot of disconnect as well. I think in that Olaf, you really want to draft champions like Karma or Yumi or one of these enchanters that gives you like
Keeps him
consistent
alive.
speed boost. Like so, Nami can obviously kind of do that, but she's just a worse version, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that. Plus, Olaf like isn't going to spend too much time in the bot lane, so usually you want to see something like the Seraphine and the Karma in the mid lane to really help him out in those like 2v2 mid jungle skirmishes. So
Yeah.
just a kind of disconnected draft, and I think Gnar is pretty hard to execute. I'm not really a fan.
Yeah, Nara's interesting. I really think that allowing feathers on Alawi, though, is just one of the biggest mistakes you could make.
Yeah.
I mean, 300
hidden
CS
feathers
and
Alawi.
absolutely popped off.
Like especially Alawi into that team comp that with 3 champions that just want to go in.
True.
How you have nothing to stop Alawi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had red, so I'm gonna assume Alawi was the last champion picked in this draft, and it probably is what kind of helped win the game pretty easily.
I mean, at
Yeah.
the same time, the Feathers would have been really confident on Alawi into Gnar because that's not a fun matchup at all.
Yeah, I just don't
Yeah.
get not banning Alawi into feathers. Teams
Or-
do it in every league, and I just don't understand that.
Or preempt it if you really feel that confident. Like just lock in the Mordecai's. You say, yeah, go ahead, do it, feathers.
Yeah. Forced him to build an early QSS. 1,300 gold down the drain.
One thing that I think is interesting is that the Senna Sona lane does not get punished because they don't have a kind of engaged support. So Samira plus Leona against Senna plus Sona should be the easiest lane in the world. I don't understand why they didn't just draft the tank to just like Unga Bunga in the bot lane all the time because they can't defend themselves at all. That would
I
have been
don't
a
mean this in
fun
a bad
strategy
way,
that
but I'm
would've-
pretty sure their support only plays E-Girl champs. Because we've played
Yeah.
against them, and I'm like 90% sure when I scouted them, their support only plays like squishy E-Girls.
So what
Yeah,
I'm
that-
hearing is
it
don't
really
be afraid
didn't-
next week.
Yeah. We've seen it for the
Hey,
first 2. Let's
he's
see
doing
if she sticks
okay.
with that.
A lot. Makes it really difficult to draft around if your support isn't willing to play a variety of champions.
Yeah.
True.
In game 3, we see more of the same from the E-Girl support side.
But now they have the Senna.
Then they had the
They
Senate, yeah.
really like playing supports top lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a bot-centric team. It is a carry-centric team.
Yeah.
And they know what they are, and they're not ashamed of it. And I think that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
So with the Karma top, It's fine. I understand why they picked it, but you gotta know how to play it. If anyone was watching that game, Izzo Boomstar had no idea how to play Karma into Alawi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
getting
was a
Flame
it was a little
Horizon as
rough.
Karma is.
It was a little rough, but that's the value of support's top, right? Because even though he gets
Mhm.
smashed, it doesn't matter because he's playing Karma and he just heals his team and lets somebody else carry.
True.
I mean, exactly, and that's only what
So-
happened. Diana 11-2
Yeah.
carried that game.
Press R, press C, job done.
Honestly, though, and you put a Karma and Soraka behind that, and Diana's never dying.
Once
I
again,
I don't know
Sir-
what the. Go ahead first.
Once again, Sir Vanderfall built only armor into a team that mainly does AP damage.
This is even more egregious now because that's a Diana. That's an
Yeah.
11-2 Diana.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me.
we may have to
Back
tell
in
him
my
to
day.
get off Blitz and use his brain.
Yeah.
Back in my day, I was playing Malphite. I had a bunch of armor, and tried to 1v1 a Diana.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fun story. I died.
It's a very short story, but a true one
Anyways,
nonetheless.
I am intrigued. If this Jhin was picked into the Diana pick, because even a behind Diana will still be able to get on and more than likely blow up a Jhin.
And it looks like that
I guess
happened.
they were banking on Dracana, but even then, okay, you saved the Jhin. Cool.
You saved the Jhin you saved him to die again. That's what you did.
Plus, it's Jhin. Like, he's not going to solo carry your team.
Good.
Eh,
Jhin
But-
can. It's just
Yeah.
it's difficult, especially into a Skarner with a Karma.
Yeah,
And then
it's
a
not
Diana.
going to happen very often. Jin needs so much peel for that, and it's just not happening.
I just want to restate Feathers on Alawi had the most gold in a game even when they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feathers, Alawi,
Yeah.
ban it. Note
It's
to all
just insane.
teams. Just ban it. It's easier. Force on something he's not a god at. Anyways, moving on to the next
Definitely.
series. We have TSQBB versus LC. And that was an 0-2, a quick sweep.
As in,
like,
I don't know if I'd call
not
it
being,
quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it quick.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't either. That's a
Yeah.
long game time. But here's
So-
game
so-
one.
I can tell you what happened this game is Lit Club had a 13,000 gold lead at 28 minutes and somehow miraculously managed to lose a fight. And then they couldn't figure out how to end the game while they twiddled their thumbs confused how they lost the fight with 13,000
No.
gold lead.
We did do that, but it was
yeah.
fun.
Oh, I'm
So,
sure it was fun.
Stand ready. Coming up to Potato, be like, I'm coming for that crown, boy.
Yeah.
Swoogity, swoogity. Coming for
so
that
this-
booty.
My comment on that as an outside observer is that trades were actually going pretty favorably for Potato in the early game, but the Jarvan gave Stand Ready one free kill just out of nowhere, and suddenly it was just all Aatrox the rest of the game. One kill. That's what he needed. Once
One
he got
kill.
that, it was just
The
a free win.
Aatrox attack.
Yeah. But I'm curious what you guys think of the draft though, because I think
So-
this is interesting.
Since we have two Lit Club members here, being someone who hasn't even watched Lit Club play, this draft is amazing. This draft is just so much better than their draft. Their draft is like last season. It's just a bunch of champions that we would have played in fives last season. And the comp on Lit Club is this season's champs. And number one, they won a draft. And number two, how the hell did they not end the game earlier?
Yeah.
You see,
We're bad.
Lit Club had 3 200 years champions, whereas the other team only had the one in set.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
Set might be 150-year champion.
My comment on the other team's draft is Jarvan is bad right now. Nobody can play Orianna in this league. Zaya's a worse version of Kaisa, and Seraphine has no synergy with Zaya. So it's like
Dude,
I don't even
yeah,
know.
it was a little rough.
I can't name a champion Oriana beats right now.
I can see what the plan is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what he beats. That's a good point.
Theoretically, Orianna should have at least bullied Viego in lane.
Well,
But
Viego just-
their Orianna played so far back and so safely that LGA could just farm up for free.
And I think that's the
a lot
thing.
of- yeah, I think a lot of teams see LGA stats and like feel like they need to play safe against him, and he just gets free wins because of it.
I mean,
Yep.
even look at the bans. Yasuo, Yone ban, and Lucian ban, all coming in the first 3. Those can all be targeted towards him. I don't know if he plays Lucian.
They were all targeted towards him.
So that's
they're all
3
targeted.
bans right off the bat in him, and he still manages to pull something else out and go absolutely nuts on it. Can't ban this kid.
I do respect what a TSQ is trying to do. It's fairly straightforward. Wombo team. Put the ball on Jarvan, Seraphine presses R, set things. But in order to do that, you have to actually get the Wombo together, and your Jarvan has to not die instantly.
Is this a game where Aatrox got a triple kill?
I don't remember if I got a triple or not.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one game you had a triple where they all just ran
Oh yeah,
straight
no, we had
into you.
Yone that game.
Anyways, moving on. We got game 2, which is another long one.
Where I one-shot Anivia.
Yeah, this game was a little better from a coaching perspective because I think that Lit Club played the map really well this game. There's a lot of split pushing to win. The reason it took so long was there was one kind of scuffed team fight, which I don't even know why they're team fighting. But that's why this game got drug out, I think. Plus, Anivia is hard to end against, even if she's not doing that well.
Yeah, wave clear on her is actually really good.
There's another game where Lit Club just won in draft.
Yeah.
A lot of Lit Club wins are like already won in draft for most of the part.
Yeah, when you see the Camille, you have to pack some engage. Because there's a decent chance she's going to live in a side lane, and if you can't deal with her there or with her team, you're just going to lose in slow motion.
That being said, you talked about how you solo killed Renekton. I don't think Renekton's a Camille counter anymore just because they nerfed the hell out of him. Like, even if you look on websites or anything, Renekton loses a Camille now.
I think if he took Conquer and not PTA, I would have had to play a lot more carefully. But he took PTA, so the second he procs that, like I take a little bit more damage, but I can still out trade him.
Yeah, his burst is over once he does that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If he takes Conquer, he has better long trades. He can probably win 2v1s a little easier, and it's less steamrolly from me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
right. My only comment on this game was they substituted their jungler this game, and he played a carry jungler instead of the Jarvan, and he looked a little better. But I think this team played pretty well as a team, but their laning was just much worse than ours, and that was just kind of all she wrote.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it. Nice 2-0. Moving on. Game 3, we have SF versus CO. I believe that's this one. Yes, it is.
Bless.
Two things
here.
I don't know. Laro's
straight up. Top Teams Collective, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe.
I'm confused by the Anivia, but the Anivia did fine, so it's not that big of an issue. Like, they have Kaisa, Malphite, Hecarim, and Thresh. 3.5 champions that want to go in, and Anivia.
I guess
I'm just confused by the Anivia, but it works. So
I think
like
Anivia and Thresher uses their disengage.
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird, though, because it doesn't feel like that, because you have a Malphite and Hecarim and Nikaisa who all just want to go in and use all their abilities. And by that point, you really shouldn't be needing to disengage anymore.
Well, I think it's good to have both options.
True.
It's a well-rounded draft.
Yeah.
Real talk, Nivea's numbers are still just kind of bunkers.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Nivea's numbers are insane. Nivea, Kaisa, and even Susan for that matter. I mean, not a lot of kills, but the gold was up there.
Speaking of that, look at the kill participation of the whole team for Collective Odyssey.
Yeah.
They played as a team.
Yeah, they definitely.
Not surprisingly, the top laner had the lowest skill participation, but tied with Anivia, but Anivia.
Quick shout out to the non-ego top laners out there that'll play Malphite. You're the best.
I locked myself in Malphite a couple weeks ago.
That champion is so broken.
True. And yet people still, while seeing the Malphite, will pick 80 champions into him.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
little
Nasus specifically is a good enough pick into Malphite. You can't fight him, but you can out heal him.
But he's not good enough pick for fives.
Nasus is just a bad pick in general.
So
but
I actually
pick into Malphite.
I disagree with that. He's not good for fives. I think that with Grasp, he's a lot stronger for fives, and you just build him more tanky. And you kind of use him as like an engage tool with his W.
Neptune.
Yeah, okay,
Neptune.
but think about Garen and then think about Nasus. Neither
Okay.
of them have hard CC, and all they do
Hey,
is push.
Yeah.
Hey, Neptune. Anyone that takes grasp on Nasus is absolutely trolling. Don't take it.
I agree.
Take phase rush.
Okay, phase rush is probably not terrible, but
Wait
I
a
don't see how it's
minute.
any better.
All right, hear me out here. Grasp Nessus jungle.
Anyways,
Can we ban
on to the next
Moving
game.
on. Yeah, I think that's a good point to say moving on at.
All
Yo,
right.
side note, Turbo Stainer is one of the best names.
Yeah.
I read that and laughed my ass off.
So by the way,
It's
that
rude, though.
CO here has 2 E-subs. I forgot to mention in game 1. Turbo and just another
they
guy.
Lost their first 3 bans.
Yes, they lost their first. These are random bans. Aatrox, Akali, Alistar.
Yeah, they're just first the alphabetical.
Yeah.
After excluding Ari because they picked her.
Technically, you shouldn't do that. I'd recommend you not do it so the bot doesn't have a stroke on you. But if you must, you can do it like that.
I mean, it speeds up draft.
Yeah, I know, but the bot then all of a sudden thinks that you should ban Aatrox into them.
So game 1, the team that had Kaisa won, and game 2, the team that had Kaisa won. And I think both Kaisas had 50
But consider
kills.
the team that had Malphite won.
Yeah, Kaisa Malphite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaisa Malphite could be a combo.
Both of those champions
OP
are insane
combo.
right now.
Yeah. It's... I kind of
Teams gotta
like.
learn. Oh, go ahead.
Also, I would like to point out, Malphite into Jin. Good luck, Jin.
Yeah.
Good night, Jin.
No, but
Also,
I
Ari is not going to kill a Malphite with 2
No.
items.
Here's my soapbox. Ari is a bad champion. You should never draft her in competitive.
I agree.
She sucks.
Yeah.
Does nothing.
Honestly, both of these drafts look like whoever Deathballed harder won.
Pretty much.
yeah.
Guys, quick question. Do you build Lich Bane on Ari?
Not
I don't
typically,
think
no.
I just noticed that. I haven't played Ari in forever. What should it be?
You have option. Go right
Full Morello?
Horizon
I
Focus.
don't know.
Horizon Focus is probably
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, it's Horizon
Yeah.
Focus.
I just feel like Ari is such an insecure champion because like she doesn't do enough damage. She doesn't have good enough anything. Like you need to like, be aggressive and do a ton of damage with Cassio, or you need to be like the full support player like Galio. She has no identity, so I just think she's always bad.
Yeah, compared to current champion, she's probably a bad placeholder, but I think a lot of teams just use her as a like blind pickable champion, even though she's kind of subpar right now.
Yeah, but I think she has a role being that blind pickle champion because you can always play her safe, and she's still going to be decent with her charm and her mobility. It's just always a nice thing to have. So even if she's not doing a whole lot of damage, she's providing some utility.
If you can get that next level coordination, she's also good for roaming. Imagine that.
See, that requires brains though, and we're Gold League. We don't have those yet.
This is true. There are like 5 brain cells throughout both teams.
Go watch Lit Club VODs. We
No.
dive bot a
There's
lot.
5 brain cells throughout the entire league.
HD gets it, which is why I suspect that he's saying don't pick Ari because he doesn't want it picked against him.
Shh.
Keep telling yourself that, buddy.
All right.
Anyways, game 3 of the series. The CO win.
You see, Vayne had hype advantage.
It's funny, this time the Malphite loses.
As
Wait,
is-
how do you lose Malphite versus Vayne? Oh, I see.
You see,
Uh,
both teams had
That's
Malphite.
Silas top dummy.
Both
Yeah.
teams had Malphite.
True, both teams had Malphite, and also, look at Senna.
Yeah, Senna
What's
didn't
Senna?
do a whole lot. 05.
I don't
That
see a
is-
Senna.
That's a good point.
It's
That might be a
Diego in
problem.
disguise. Yeah, that could actually be a problem though. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
shocked that actually I'm not that shocked now that I look at it. Like Senna, Morgana, Zera, they want to hang back. And then you have Olaf and Malphite to protect them from Malphited up Silas, Vayne, Alistair.
I think the
great.
Olaf pick is fine. It's the Malphite that makes no sense.
Yeah. Well,
Like, at
Malphite
least
into
with-
Vayne is a good idea. Blind
At
pick
least with
Malphite into
Olaf-
Vayne.
Like, you can run at the vein and force her to back up while your team backs up.
Vayne
But-
just duels Olaf, though.
Oh yeah, no, Olaf dies. But
Yeah.
if Vayne can't kill your backline, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think I think on paper the draft really isn't that bad, but in actual play, yeah, Malphite and Olaf go forward and everyone's focused on them, but like a good Silas is literally just gonna run straight past them and kill the backline.
A good
Exactly.
Silas steals Malphite all, instantly one-shots Xerath and Senna.
Yeah, and that's
Silas was a huge pick here.
I really like Silas into Malphite, especially just since he gets the Malphite R to scale with the AP ratio. So all of a sudden, instead of being like a tanky Malphite R that does like no damage, all of a sudden it's a decent sized chunk coming at you.
100% AP ratio, no big
By the
deal.
way, 80, they nerfed it a while ago.
Ooh.
But I'll be honest, I think in this league, Malphite should be 100% pick ban, no matter what.
Eh,
No, I
still
agree with that.
exploitable.
Like,
That's
outside of a
standard damage
heavy
for it.
magic damage comp, in where Malphite would probably be pretty bad, I think Malphite should be almost 100% pick ban.
Here's the thing, in this game, that was almost that until the Silas came out.
Yeah.
Like, Seraphim's not going to kill Malphite, but then, hello. I build Leandri's first. You're dead.
So all in all, I think both of these rosters are really just having roster changes like every week or every other week.
Yeah.
So I think they need to just stop dropping players and just play with the
Mhm.
5 they have so they can get some consistency. Because
and-
either team could have won this series easy.
And by the way, Jaster was also a sub that came in. And for future
Oh my
reference,
God.
Turbo Stainer and Just Another Guy are now fully members of CO. So we
Yeah.
will be
Nice.
seeing them again.
For these teams to actually be teams that other team that like anyone has to worry about, they need to start having consistent rosters. Because like
Yeah.
I don't think any of us look at these teams and be like, oh well, we're gonna have a hard time against them.
I know we
Because they're
two-would
not
both of them.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had a little bit of weirdness this week with the Texas ice storms and people losing that. So the TSQA versus RPT game is still going to be played, but it'll probably be played sometime later this week or sometime next week. We're still trying to work it out. They have as much time as they need before playoffs to get these games in that they miss, because this is way outside of their control.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Texas.
All in all, their electrical systems weren't built for snow because they're in fucking Texas. But on the bright side, they're supposed to get more snow on Thursday, so who knows when we'll actually play.
Yeah.
Wait, on the bright side,
No,
are you
wait.
okay?
Wait a second.
Rockport
Oh,
drama.
sorry.
sarcasm,
wait.
sarcasm.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
I understand. It's because snow is completely reflective and white, so it makes things look very bright. Okay, there we go.
Oh, see, yeah, good cover.
So,
Anyways, our last completed series of last week, or this week technically, was Hibernation versus the Trench, which was another
Upset.
one of the
Oh.
bigger upsets. A 2-1 win for
Upset.
Hibernation.
hell yeah.
And this is game one.
Yo, so preface here. Both this was Punch Nilo, Gunman, and whatever that name is, Joseon?
Joseon?
Yeah.
Joseon? Both him and I were kicked off of the Trench. And he was really hyped going into this series, and it's just really cool to see him take them off of their pedestal.
Yeah.
That is incredibly funny.
Jose on that would be
That
that's
came
jungler
up.
for the trench, right?
No,
Or was?
no, he was the ADC. Zerg took
ADC.
over Punch's spot.
Oh, okay.
And Zerg actually destroyed the entire team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Game
Again,
one,
like-
that is.
The trench is a 100% ADC focused team right now.
And it shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't know if any of you guys watched their stream. They literally told their top laner to play like a bitch.
Mm.
Oh, I
That
And
was-
remember
then they
somebody
made him lock
posting
in
something
Darius.
about
That makes no sense to me.
No,
Yeah.
no, they made him lock in Gnar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Trench is down here in the bot. Red, they
Yeah.
won game one.
Even that Nar played like a bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
well,
at least.
to be fair, it's into a Darius, which I don't really like in
Okay.
fives either. I mean, Malphite would
Darius
have been
is-
great here.
Good in fives to the extent that he can 100% neutralize the enemy top laner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't really a counter to Darius right now.
But
That
against a
should be a
team that
counter
wants to play
to
through their ADC, do you really want to counter their top laner? Is that really what you want to look for?
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, an absolute pop off by Zerg, and that was game 1.
And then
And then there was more. Game 2. Series
Yeah,
tied,
that's
1-1.
left,
Hibernation victory.
See, they let Drake get Shen, and if I'm going to be honest, I was not impressed by the Shen from a Shen main, who was
Yeah.
also using a Blitz build. On stream, by the way. He was the one streaming. That's how we know.
Yeah, interesting
and he
game once
picked it in the
again.
Darius, which was bold of him. Let's go with that.
This game, did anyone see how this game ended? Was it a lost 5v5?
Yes, it was a bad fight at the bottom inhib from the trench on. They were on red side, so it was a bad fight from them. And then Kopek the Azir. I don't remember if he TP'd in or if he was just split pushing, but he ended through the top lane.
Yeah, because you can see
This
they won the
should have
game
been a
with
clean
gold diff.
2-0.
Yeah,
But then,
Yeah, even Punch messaged me and said that they threw the second game really hard.
Yeah, like this should have been a clean 2-0. Trench should have won this game, but they just horribly misplayed.
yeah, that'll do it.
well, you can't do that in season 11.
No, you
Leads just
cannot.
aren't made of anything nowadays.
Here's another thing. Drake with Shen doesn't look at the map before ulting. He just ults. As a fellow Shen player, although not a Shen main, you don't do that.
I run lock screen.
Okay, I do too, but the difference is I unlock my screen from time to time. This man doesn't.
That is a man after my own heart. We are both monkey.
We can embrace monkey.
All right, can we ban Dick? Let's ban
Yes.
Dick.
Okay, side note, I don't like the Hecarim build at all. Ouchmouse on Hecarim should probably be dodged.
Well, he went 1-7-6 too, so
Yeah,
I don't think the
Sunderer
game like this
against
build either.
a bunch of squishy champions is really troll. You should just want the Triforce.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's looking
Only
for the
because
big
Sunderer and a
burst,
bunch of
but
tanks.
Gotta pop the vein, otherwise she's going to kill you.
Yeah, Sunderer works. It works into tanks. That's the thing. It's a
Yeah.
tank killer item, and they have one tank. Well, they have Alistair too, but I mean he was level 14.
Also,
How do you guys-
Josh did well on the Gragas,
He
but
always does well on Gragas.
yeah, he does.
ADHD he's not here now. But as he told me, because I was trying to play a few games to get the feel of Gragas top, Gragas has a very high burden of execution to play well.
Oh yeah. In the LCS last week, they were talking about how he's the hardest to pull off tank in the entire game.
Yes, definitely.
Highest skill cap tank.
Like
Yeah,
he's
definitely
good
up there.
if you're good at him. He's just hard to get good at.
Yeah, he's got a lot of jank going on.
Yeah, and Josh is definitely good at him. This guy pops off on Gragas every single time he gets it.
And
Also, this was an
Gragas.
Azir quirky mid lane game. This isn't the
Really?
LCS. There's nothing wrong with it. They both played well. It's just I
Come on.
personally don't like it.
Give us.
I feel like the Trench drafted all scaling lanes, and it probably lost them a lot of early game pressure. Like
Oh, yeah,
I
they
know
had
they
no
have a
early game pressure.
Gragas, but like Darius is gonna have more pressure early. Seraphine Ezreal is gonna have more pressure early. Even Azir is gonna have more pressure than a Quirky early. Like
And
they
yet
just had
won
no
the early
pressure.
game.
And then Hecarim is a very powerful early game champion.
even though he hinted on it.
yeah,
Well,
if
he
he got
hinted,
ahead,
he's
it was
bad,
an
but,
over
like,
game.
Literally, Hecarim gets ahead this game. It's just a slam dunk for at least into your heart, right? That's
Yeah.
who was on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No. It's
Hibernation.
hibernation.
This is hibernation. All right,
Yeah.
good for them. Literally, Hecarim doesn't int. Hibernation just rolls over this game. There's nothing Trench could have done.
Yeah, I think this
Oh,
draft is just really weak from the Trench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked out for them until it didn't.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, and
it
they almost
worked.
won. That's the thing. They still almost won, even though their
Yeah.
draft was
Yeah,
pretty
they
subpar.
took one bad fight and that cost them the game.
It's all Azir
Imagine drafting
needs.
scaling and then throwing late game.
And then there's game 3, and Hibernation takes the victory.
I hate the
I
Quinn.
love this draft so much.
I hate the Quinn.
I
Everything
love
else is
it.
fine from everyone else. I just hate the Quinn. Don't
Yeah, I
pick
feel
Quinn.
about the same.
Quinn's
Honestly,
bad.
they're looking Drake picked what's his face, Shen instead of Malphite, or even Orange.
That's the only champion Drake can play.
Okay, so Quinn, yes, is a bad champ for 5s. That being said, she has had one of the top 10 win rates in top for like literally 6 months, like 6 months or more. And this guy can clearly win top. So they said, hey, let's put him on a champion he'll automatically win on. And it worked.
Yeah,
It did work.
It did work,
kind of
8,
think
6,
but
and
so.
7.
at the same time, he didn't do much the entire game.
Plus, he has double the deaths of the next member of his team.
True.
Yeah, that's to be expected. You're a squishy top laner.
Yeah, but I mean, her whole point is just to stop Shen from doing anything in the game.
And I think
I
that's
feel
what they
like that.
needed.
And that's all he had to do was just
Yeah.
stop Shen from...
He succeeded, and yeah, he did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, he's down in CS versus Shen.
It's Quinn. You roam.
Yeah,
you don't
Yeah,
stop.
you roam, you look for plays. Really, Quinn's just there to provide pressure, and I think that's what he did perfectly. And really, he didn't need to be the one doing the damage. I mean, Kopech playing the Cassiopeia, 9-1-10, 351 CS, absolutely demolished the entire
Highest
game in
level.
gold.
And
Highest level,
hey, if
highest
you're
gold.
bait for ultimates, job done. Yes, kill me.
I mean, that is a 5-item Cassiopeia. That's scary.
Like, this was 5-item Cassiopeia, and then it was the Kraken Slayer Ginsu's Senate build. Like, that
You got
shreds.
the heckin' rapid fire cannon in there.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Kopech
think that's overkill, but it's fine.
had nearly 10 CS a minute this game.
In a 38-minute
He
game,
went
too.
balls to the wall.
This man had a statement to make.
Honestly.
He's just like, this is for punch, you bastards.
And yeah, they made it work. I mean, Josh tried picking up the Hecarim there. I'm surprised at that. I mean, he's been doing so well in the Gragas lately. Without it being banned, he should have probably stuck with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they lost and then just decided they needed to play something different. He decided he couldn't carry on the Gragas, maybe? Because, I mean, he did really well and still
Judging
lost.
what they did with the...
I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
I think they could have ran the draft back from the second game and won.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although...
That being said, everyone
Caspio
says
Zero is kind of scary.
everyone says Zerg is the best player on the team, but every game I look at, it just looks like his KDA is high. It doesn't look like he has the most gold in the game. It doesn't look like he has the most damage. It always just looks like he has a high KDA.
Then again, when your entire team is focused around playing through your ADC, that's kind of what's going to happen no matter what. So he automatically just turns into your player to watch for. Because if
Yeah,
he does
it's
well, he's going to win. And if he doesn't do well, then he's going to lose. It's kind of what that turns into. So you're always watching him anyways.
It's just hard to judge the other players when one player is the focus of the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consistently
Well,
too.
When I played with them, Pippo was by far the best player on the team, and he was always on carries. And all of a sudden, they start putting him on these supportive champions. He's clearly not comfortable in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-7 and 2 Galio.
By the way, Galio is a terrible pick in the Cassiopeia.
Honestly.
Yeah, he got Flame Horizon and then some.
Yeah.
He almost got Flame Horizon twice.
Yeah, Cassiopeia almost is double Galio's farm in this game. 9
That's
CS short.
normal.
I mean, that's just absurd. That's a feel bad for the Galio, but really good play from Kopech, and that concludes this games.
I really have to hope that Hippo did not choose to play Galio into this, and he was more or less just forced onto it. Because if he willingly picked this, I have no faith in him as a mid laner.
Yeah. It's a little
I can
weird.
see the logic behind it.
It's
Josh is a really good jungler. I pressed R on Josh. Good things happen. It is kind of a Hecarim team when you look at it. They've got the Shen, they've got the Galio, they've got Vroom Hecarim with Ignite instead of Ghost. Why would you do that?
Good question.
In theory, it's a good idea. Except for the part where there's a Thresh and a Cassio who can just stuff your engage.
Even Quinn can stuff and engage to an extent.
Oh, yeah, from Hecarim.
I guess if you're like in range to E, the Hecarim is in range to ult you, but
Like it's a
Also-
lot riskier, but it still works.
Am I
It does still
crazy,
work.
or is Blaine always the lowest level in all 3 games?
I mean, good support play.
yeah, is doing his best. He has to, man. Zerg is the same level as Hibernation's Thresh. Man needs XP.
Yeah, and those were the games. And then moving on, here are the standings right now. So far, even with the loss, the Trench is still number 1. However, that could
Yeah.
change when Rockport plays their game. They could be the only team to go 4-0. But we will not
better
know
be.
about that for a little while still. So moving on, here are the players to watch, selected by the people here. Unfortunately, ADHD did have to head off, I believe, right? He's no longer here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
he
he's
had to
gone.
leave.
So we're just gonna whoops, he's not here. Whatever he said, he can't back it up. So let's just go through every team and talk about the players to watch and things to look out for. So let's start off with Trench. And I think as we said before, it's just Zerg. I mean,
I think we already covered the Trench when we were going through the last 3 games. It's just they're a really bot centric team, and you kind of focus on their ADC. And the one person here who has played on the Trench pointed out that their mid laner used to be the focus. So there we go.
Yeah, I just think Pippo's better on a carry than a supportive champ, and they are just playing around Zerg every game.
yeah, it's just not working out for them. Then moving on, we got Oasis, who, if you're wondering who Lovebird's Uwu is, that is their new mid laner. Dracana was moved to sub as of the ending of the games, and he immediately left the team. So now we have a new mid laner for Oasis, as well as a new jungle, which was never named here. So that'll be interesting to see.
Feel like putting his name. I'm sorry, man.
New jungle / mid. We'll count you putting his name down. He's still here.
They're the 2 new players, so by default, you should watch how they play. Like that. That's just my mentality there.
Fair enough.
That makes sense. I feel Oasis started to have some bad series and then changed the roster, and I think that was a bad idea. I think Dracana is a really strong player, and he probably got really mad when they put him on the bench.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was mental. I mean, that could be a factor, but like I think Dracana was definitely one of the top mids.
Yeah.
And then Richard, you put Feathers as the person to watch. You want to go into that?
I'll explain. I saw his Alawi play. It farmed good. But other than that, no, but for real though, Feathers has the potential to turn top lane into a black hole for Oasis. And when he does do that, then it gets really easy for Oasis to play the game. And when he kind of whiffs, things go not so well for him.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I want to see him really up his game and become a true top lane threat. I want to see Gold Darian.
We'll look forward to it. Moving on to Lit Club. I think the consensus. Well, actually, it's no
The
consensus.
consensus is our coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ADHD from both Bostrel and Sandready. I put LGA just
He's the
because.
draft mastermind.
ADHD is their sub/coach.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a terrible top laner, but he's a great drafter. Drafter. We'll go with that. He's like, if you look at any of our drafts, they're mostly his brainchild.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, a lot of Lit Club's games are won like in draft phase already. It's just up to you guys to do the
we do the dirty
game.
work.
Yeah.
And it works out most of the time.
Richard, I love you, man. Thank you.
Hey, man, I love you too.
Don't watch me though. I'm a terrible laner.
Someone's got to stand up for top laners. That's gonna be me. And hey, when Lit Club split pushes, guess who's the one doing it half the time? Your boy
The Fiora man.
Exactly. So he unlocks an entire playstyle for the team. And so they feed on a split push comp, you know who to blame.
So, do you guys know what CSL is?
Whomst.
Okay, it's one of the collegiate leagues.
Yeah.
And we did that not last. Well, technically last year we did it the 2019-2020 season,
Nice.
and most of our games we won through split pushing.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
solid
split pushing
strat.
is
We can pull it out.
underrated.
It's a good strat if you can pull it off. You just have to be able to read the map, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is something a lot of people can't do because they're not ready for it.
Yeah. What top lane are wards?
Warding's top lane couldn't be me. And I put
So
LGA
me
down
and-
just because, you know, he's popping off in all his games. You can't ban him out. He's got too many champs to play. Gossio and Lucian, a smothering of others. So I respect the man.
LGA is what I hope Feathers can be, or what I think he can be.
Yeah.
Which is
ADHD put down our support, Wanderer.
he's a good boy.
I'm gonna more or less go with the fact that he can play pretty much whatever we need to put him on, which is great.
Yeah, I actually put Wanderer until I remember that ADHD can be put. I think Wanderer is probably one of the most consistent players, and he always has high vision.
And then
score.
I had our ADC down before I switched over to Anthony because same thing as our support. He can play basically whatever we need him to.
Yeah, and that's
Did
a
he
great
play
thing to
an
have.
ADC at all last week?
No, he did not play an
I
ADC
didn't
last
think
week.
so.
All right. Then.
Moving on, we got Rockport.
Not
Who-
biased.
We're looking at Heat Viper for
I
a few.
I don't
Sean.
know anything about you guys. I'm sorry.
I think both Lit Club and Rockport having like almost all of the members put on here says something about the teams. I
Yeah,
think each person here can see potential in a different person on both teams.
Absolutely.
yeah, Rockport's definitely a team to watch out for. Especially as they're not playing right now, they're going to quickly turn into like an underdog that's just going to destroy everyone.
Will you guys be streaming? Will your match be streamed whenever you get to it?
No, I don't see any reason to give information out to other teams.
Wow, come
We'll
on,
see
man.
how it goes.
I wanna
Uh,
watch.
what happens.
it depends. There's certain streams that do need to happen. Everyone gets
Mhm.
two. Two is
we will be
required.
streamed week 7 against the Trench, which will be a fun time.
Yeah.
Oh, the
I think we
trenches.
play you week 8, so okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll look forward to that being streamed. We'll see how it goes.
Heat's
And of
immortal.
course, if it's not being streamed, every now and then there is some viewing parties being hosted in the Discord server. So hop on there and you may see them play too.
Lit Club also streams all of our matches, although we probably won't be streaming on Monday because we're on the Affliction stream.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/the Club Esports.
Get out of here. You're not sponsored. That's a ban from the league, and we will see the Lit Club in the next season. Moving on. TSQA. I think it's across the board. It's blue chocolatey.
It's either Blue Chocolate or have no idea who the hell anyone on TSQA is.
The man
Yeah.
pops off.
Blue chocolatey. He does his job.
Yeah, I think he's a good top laner, and I just think he outclasses the rest of his team. His micro is pretty good for, especially on like Renekton. His Renekton is really clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays his champs. I mean, he's like you said, he definitely is one of, if not the best player on his team.
Yeah.
And they definitely do try to play around him by putting him stuff like the Renekton. I think that if they change their playstyle up a little bit to probably put either more attention top lane or just play a more either a split pushy or a team fighty thing where he can have more attention, they may start to rise to the top of the league with him.
Don't put attention top lane. That's a mistake. Don't do that.
He's your best
Top lane,
player.
Top lane twice, and then hope that it snowballs.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Get him ahead and let him do the rest.
Yeah.
Our match against TSQBB, we won because the enemy. We won game 1 because the enemy jungler ganked top once. I killed him, and we won.
Yeah.
Top's a volatile lane, man.
Top's weird. Top's
One little
scuffed.
thing can swift it, dude.
Honestly, though. Don't play top if you want to climb. It's not happening. Moving on.
Agreed.
Hibernation. I think across the board, okay, except for ADHD. Everyone put Punch, or is his old name if you go by that, or Gunman, which is his new name, and we all put him down.
I really
You
want to
not
know
love this
why
guy.
ADHD put Ouch Mouse.
Man, so do I.
Because
Yeah.
that guy is probably the worst jungle in the league.
Yeah,
That's why you gotta watch him.
well, we watched the toilet bowl already, so maybe we can get some bloopers from him too.
Oof.
All in good fun.
Anyway, Punch, also known as Gunman now, one of the best ADCs. He really helped Hibernation get up to snuff. I think their
Just
bot
so
lane is
lovable.
by far their strong point. Both Tron. Oh wait, no, it's not Tron. Who's the support?
For
I thought it was
Hibernation, Fiendfire.
Right.
Oh yeah. Fiend and Punch are definitely the strong point of that team by far.
Yeah. No, that bot lane duo is disgusting. I wouldn't want to play against them pretty much ever. Not if I could control it.
The more I look at this, the more it's like the bottom teams have like one lane that they carry from, and then the top teams have multiple options.
He's back. He can defend the Ouch Mouse.
Defend the Ouch Mouse.
Oh,
Go.
he's here?
Yeah, I just got back. It's Ash
Oh.
Wednesday. I had to go to church.
Well, I need to
All right.
do things then. Okay,
Defend
let's
the
see it.
Ouch Mouse.
Defend the Ouch Mouse. Let's hear it.
The Ouch Mouse. Let me remember. Let me find what team
He's a
on.
guy who always plays a Moo on Hibernation.
Oh,
Yeah, Grasp of Moon.
wait. What was the game that I saw? Hold on. There was one game in the Vaughns I saw. Let me find it. It'll take me a second.
He didn't expect us to immediately put him on the
Yeah. Hold on.
This is what you get.
Talk
Yeah.
about something else for a second.
Let's praise Heat Viper and his special talent to never fucking die.
Oh, okay.
How many deaths
So,
does he have?
I think he has two deaths in the entire league, and I have 7.
That is crazy.
One
I
might
put Heat
say
Viper as
Heat Viper.
mine. I put Heat Viper as mine because I think that a lot of the guys on your team get like a lot of like stat recognition right, but I don't really see him show up too much. But when I watched him play, I thought his mechanical prowess was better than most of the ADCs in the league.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of playing with Heat.
He's slept on.
He is just super reliable. He is our Koichi. Yes, that was a JoJo reference.
Is Heat Viper's name Sean, by the way?
No, Sean is our
No.
support, Sean Bear.
By the way,
Sean
Heat
is the
Viper,
secret
3
reason.
deaths. That's all he's got. 3.
Yeah.
You just
Nuts.
did the stat spot, didn't you?
Oh, you bet I did. Stat spot is coming in clutch.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the games now. So the reason I put the Ouch Mouse is because in the games that I watched, he played very well. So I don't know what his previous games looked like, but I recall seeing somebody saying that he was like going on a training montage and like that's what turned him around, and I think it totally paid off because in their games I thought that he looked very good. So I don't know what his other games looked like, but if you watch those games, he looks pretty impressive.
Fair enough.
Nice.
Then we're moving on to Listen to Your Heart. And it's pretty much its consensus was Razor for most of it.
They just seem like a very bot-centric team, as a lot of the teams do. But like, who did he play last week? I don't remember. 1 second.
Razor? On
I
Listen
believe
to
he had
Your
a
Heart?
Xayah game, did he not?
So let's see. What is it?
Yeah, he did. Like I remember
Yeah.
in the first game, they had
Oh yeah.
Senna.
Razorleaf had some wicked
Senna,
ult.
Samira, and Jinx is what he played.
Senna, Samir, and Jinx.
Oh, the reason I put him is because those are 3 champions that I think fulfill very different roles in a team comp. And if you're able to kind of like flex between those different playstyles, that's impressive to me.
Impressive at a gold
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
I'll give him a tortilla.
Yeah, I think they play a lot around Razor. I think he gets a lot of help. That being said, Wiggy kind of does his own thing and still pops off on his own.
Yeah, honestly, I gotta defend Wiggy, man. He absolutely went off on Oasis. I mean, that 8-0 on Malzahar and the 11-2 on Diana. I mean, those are some crazy numbers against one of the better teams. That's a controversial statement, I know. But it is one of the better teams, Oasis. So the fact that he was able to do that in such a convincing style definitely says something.
My only problem with praising the Diana game is, as I said earlier, it's not so much like he did well on the Diana, but I think he mostly did well because the enemy team did poorly than because he played amazingly.
Hey, we take those.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay, that being said, Oasis is a top team right now, but they have had the easiest schedule out of every team in the league. They've played TSQBB. They played Hibernation without Punchnello. Week 1 they beat Lit Club, but Lit Club was a new team, and they barely beat them.
And
They
they got
beat
a
us
free win on
after
SF.
IPC'd like 3 times in game 2, and then we had a sub in ADHD top who does not play top.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so Oasis, one of the easier schedules, so we'll see how they can pan out throughout the rest of it, but
Yeah.
should be interesting to see.
I think TSQA against Oasis next week will be the telling.
That's soon.
Yeah.
And then Collective Odyssey, which
Jarny.
across the board, Jarny, gotta give it to him, man. Pops off, does his job, closes the games when he needs to.
It's a good
Well,
point.
sometimes.
For the first time this week.
I think all of us went with that because all we really have to go off is the stat lines. Because at least in my case, I didn't get to see their new team play, and
Yeah.
obviously something changed from before, and he's one of the things that changed. And they won a nice game, and he had a really impressive stat line. So that's the only justification I have for that.
Yeah.
More or less.
And then to our bottom 2 teams who haven't actually got a win yet. We have TSQBB up next.
Potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is
We
arguably
got
the
to
best
play
player
against
on
him.
that team.
Yeah. He was the only person who even gave us a little bit of concern when we played them.
Yeah.
His clip game was a little spicy. And then he died.
Alright, this
Yeah.
is the one where I'm gonna tell everyone you're wrong. Potato, you could check the stat bot right now, but I'm pretty sure he has the most deaths in the entire
He
league.
does. He's overly
Which-
aggressive.
Is a horrible stat. Absolutely horrible stat. He's giving so much gold to the enemy team every game. I think he plays aggressive, but he's giving too much gold. I think CPPW is the most consistent player on their team if you go through their match history.
So,
So, I
StatsBot
will.
says that Potato Man has 54 deaths, and that's second, only behind Sir Vanderfall by 1 death.
There
And just
are
to
9 games. Let's
just to
divide. What was it? 54. I want to see how many deaths per game that is.
a lot. Oh, and by the way, just to flame ADHD over here, Mr. The Ouchmouth over here, number 3 on the death count.
Okay, wait. I'm actually gonna defend myself here a little bit.
Okay,
go,
ADHD is only looking at this week though.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Nick knows, or Stan Ready knows what I'm about to say here. I actually don't think number of deaths is as bad as you guys think it is. I'm the kind of player that thinks aggression is often rewarded. So if you have, for example, I think it was Tron had a like 0-10 Nautilus game, right? A lot of people will look at that stat and say, "Oh, the man's inting." Well, maybe, but not necessarily, because if you're playing Nautilus, like you have to die to do anything useful, right? That means that you're like trying to make things happen in a bad situation potentially. So I think that while it certainly isn't a good thing, dying a lot means that you're trying to generate leads for your team, and if you can just clean it up a little bit, then you can be successful in the future. So like you shouldn't be turret diving at level 2 like you did against us. Like that's just dumb, right? But if you temper it a little bit but keep the same level of mindset, like even if you die half the time you do that, usually it's worth it because it does a lot of mental damage to the enemy team, right? If you're just playing like mindlessly aggressive, that kind of thing can get rewarded a lot of times. So dying a lot isn't necessarily a bad thing. In my
Bringing
opinion.
up the dying level 2 under the tower is, I think there's a very, very fine gray line between brave and stupid, and I think he's really on that line.
Yeah.
That's fair.
My man wants that W, and he knows He's their only hope.
Yeah, he plays a little aggressive, but you know, if it works, and we'll see if he can work it out.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the last team here, which another consensus. SF. Yes, I almost said a
Good
different
movie,
name.
good player.
Yeah, I mean, Tron, he's doing a lot of work there. And you got to give him respect, too, for taking control of the team that was in utter shambles and bringing it back into a team that actually could play. So, respects on that.
I think simply the fact that he managed to take basically a shell of a team and get it into something that could at least play is respect. Even
Yeah.
if none of their players are performing super well, the fact that Tron was able to even get all the players together is good enough.
Yeah, I
Plus,
agree with that.
they were a pleasure to play against. They were just fun to fight.
Yeah, they're a fun team to play against. I believe I've watched a fair amount of their games now. And even just looking at it, it's always action-packed, and it's never super one-sided. But it is fun to watch them play. And they always are aggressive enough to make the game interesting. It's not farm till 35 minutes.
This
We
is a gold league.
appreciate
It better
that.
not be farmed for 35 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate the action here, watching it.
So
We are not the LCK.
Yeah.
Since we're at the end, can I defend my earlier ones that I didn't get to say earlier?
Sure, go for it.
All right, I'll go through it quickly. Zerg is a player to watch because the whole team revolves around him, and if you shut him down, they do nothing. Feathers and Fur, I think is a really interesting player because even though he plays a garbage champion, I think Alawi is so bad. He makes it work, and he has insane stats. He also absolutely dunked on the other top laner in the game I watched, so it was definitely interesting to watch. So something that I think you do need to respect. Wanderer on Let Club, I don't know. In week 4, he had the highest IER of any player in the league as a support. I think that he's flexible. He can play carries like Senna. He can play enchanters like Karma, and he can play engagers like Alistar. So I think that he has a really wide champion pool that you can't really ban out, and I think he's been playing really well for us, even though the stats don't always reflect it. So I think that he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I already talked about Heat Viper, and I'm caught up.
Yeah.
We
Perfect.
didn't play our game yet when you had the highest IER.
And
What
then
was that?
moving on to the last segment.
Okay.
We got one more segment to go through, and these are the predictions for the rest of this week, because we still have TSQA versus RPT, and the week 5 games, the predictions. And I will be keeping track of this, and I'll give you guys all points and scores for it. And anyone else who watches and comes on here with me, we can keep track of that and do some small prize nonsense thing at the end if someone does really well. Anyways, so moving on. TSQA versus Rockport. And I think everyone but Stand Ready has that Rockport's winning in some
I'm just being a
convincing manner.
dissenter. I don't have an actual defense for this.
Dang.
I know why Boss Troll and Richard put Rockport. Neptune and Anthony, how about you two?
I put Rockport because these are the 2 biggest unknowns for me. I don't know anything about TSQ Academy, and all I know about Rockport is that they win a lot. And in the games that I watched, they definitely had some like flaws that I think are exploitable, but I think they looked like pretty consistent. Early games were a little weak, but I don't really think that they cared too much because they just out team fought in every fight that I saw, basically. So Rockport is one of those teams that I think is always going to be pretty reliable. And against a relative unknown, I think that's a pretty safe bet to just go with how things have been turning out so far.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I do think that TSQA is coming back, though, and they're showing that they're improving definitely as the league progresses. So I definitely do think they take a game off Rockport. But I think that Rockport, especially if they can start off with the first game and take the first win, that they'll be able to clean things up for game 3 if they do even have to go to that, and just clean things up and take the series.
I'm gonna trash talk and get us clapped. You ready?
Let's hear it.
ESQA, we got your number. We're in your brain. You remember that one time when you touched your girlfriend's leg? And you know what? I'm not gonna finish that. But it was me.
Moving on very quickly. We have Rockport again versus Hibernation. In this one, we all have Rockport winning. even after Hibernation takes the games off the trench.
Yeah.
I would hope
all-
the two Rockport players think Rockport's gonna win.
Yeah.
The only the only thing I have to say about this one is the most impressive thing I saw from Hibernation in their win against the Trench was their rock solid mental, which goes a long way. Because I think that they were losing really bad in the first game, and then they somehow like I don't remember if it was the first or the second game, but then they somehow came back and won a really cheap win that ultimately, gave them the advantage they needed to win the series. So like I think that they're a team that has a really strong mental, but I also was kind of like confused how they put themselves in that big of a hole in the first place. So like even though they're a team with potential, I don't think that they've worked out all the kinks yet. So I don't think that they're quite poised to take down like an undefeated team yet, but that said, I'm optimistic about their future. I think that they have potential. I'm just not sure that they're quite there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that Rockport, especially if they take the game off the 2-0 on TSQA or even a 2-1, I think that they're just going to quickly rise to be the top of this league. And even though Hibernation took some good games off the trench, like you said, Hibernation just has good mentals, and that's what really was helping them there. Whereas Rockport has that mental and also has the mechanics and the skills to back them up.
Listen,
Hibernation's good at capitalizing on mistakes at the moment, and Punch is a solid player. Unfortunately, we don't make mistakes. But
He says that now.
Yeah.
We're quoting him on that.
For
so
one,
hard.
that is an overstatement to say we don't make mistakes, Rich. I love you. But listen, I can't play against my boy Punch and lose a game to him. I just can't. I'm gonna make sure Punch can't play the game.
Dang.
And he is by far their best player. So
Now that we've
I'm looking
given
out
out
for
our
you, boy.
strategy, I'm gonna change my prediction.
I know it's too late now. I've blocked this.
See,
I don't know.
the one thing I'm thinking is that I definitely think Rockport, you guys will win. But I don't think Hibernation is going to go down without at least cheesing one victory. Like, they're definitely going to yoink one game somehow.
I
and
think
get it.
I think the exploitable thing about Rockport is that they kind of have like similar draft styles, right? Like they have a pretty solid identity in my opinion. Like everything that I've seen has been like kind of team fighting drafts. They just want to scale to late and now team fight you. At least from what I've seen. Maybe these
That's
guys will
because
disagree with me.
every series we get the same champions. Nobody bans
Yeah.
champions from us.
Yeah, and
And
if you're
I
not going to
think
ban it,
I think that kind of style is just is a very consistent way to win against bad teams. Because they won't draft split push to kind of go around that and ignore your team fighting, right? And team fight comps are like kind of always there. Like no matter what they ban, you can always draft it, so it's consistent. That being said, I think the ceiling of it is pretty low. I think that better teams will figure out ways to exploit that. And if there was going to be a team that might do that, I think that Hibernation is one of the ones that could come up with something creative to deal with that. So I'm excited to see if they try something like that, or if they just kind of slam their heads into you guys and let you do what you want.
I think we only play that one style because we're allowed to. I think every team gives us the same champions every series, and I don't see any reason to show anything else.
And that's fair.
No, that's a good point. Moving on, we got Collective Odyssey versus the Trench. And this one's kind of split. A couple Trench and a couple Collective Odyssey. So
What? No way.
So-
No way Collective beats the Trench. You're on crack.
I-
You're
Yeah,
all on crack.
I can defend this I think pretty well, right? I watched the Trench. I watched their mentals get exploded last week, right? But that's not enough.
Yeah.
The other thing that I saw was that the Collective has basically changed their entire roster, and they pick up their first win for that roster. So they are a relative unknown, in my opinion. And I think that the Trench will probably go into that game expecting to smash. And at least in my experience in coaching teams, when undefeated teams lose their first game and they've never really like experienced losing before, mentals continue to degrade. It is not something that fixes itself. Teams have to like learn early on that they're flawed, and I think that the Trench is learning that way too late. So I think that this is going to be a really hard transition for them. I hope that they do turn it around for the record, because I want our top teams to do well. But I just think that the Collective is going to catch them unaware, and this is like the perfect timing for this upset to happen. I only think this is possible at this exact moment, but I think because the stars have aligned, that this is their moment, and I'm excited to see them try it.
Yeah, I agree. There's something going on internally with the trench. If they can purge their demons by the time they fight CO and they win game one, they should be all right. If they don't, and or they lose game one, there's a decent chance they just go into a doom spiral.
Okay, so being a former trench boy, I think the trench is one of the best teams in the league and will continue to be one of the best teams in the league. I think their players are just good. I think Collective Odyssey beat the worst team in the entire league and barely beat them. So I don't think they've improved enough to beat the trench still, even with the trench being down right now.
True.
All
Trench
right.
loses
Yeah,
out,
I
it's
agree
gonna
with
beat
that.
themselves.
I think the
So,
trench
no
is
matter-
gonna do enough to take the victory.
If Collective Odyssey plays it correctly, they just have to get, if they play through top lane, because Zerg is definitely a better player than Jarny. That's without a doubt. If Collective plays through top lane, dumpsters Drake, assuming the trench doesn't replace him before Sunday, of course,
Yeah.
I think they can definitely have a chance. And I expect them to take at least a game because of that. But I don't see them dogpiling Zerg enough for Trench to lose.
If I were Collective Odyssey, I would draft Rek'Sai, hit level 3, and then make bot lane a 3-man lane, and just
I agree.
just sit
Yeah.
under their turret and proxy him off of the wave for the entire game.
Take the Galio, take the TF, just 4-man them until
Yep.
Zerg flames and goes AFK.
That would
Yep.
work too.
He has
That's what I would
revealed that he's an emotional player.
If anybody watched their stream from this week, they are toxic to each other.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they're the most
I
toxic
also-
team
I
I've
also
ever
don't-
played for.
I also don't like, hard flaming teams for their mental and stuff, right? That really is none of our business for the most part. But at the same time, I think that Zerg is more flawed than everybody in the league seems to think he is. His stat lines are obviously good, but in their losses, it seemed to me, and maybe this is just the role of ADC in general, but he wasn't really able to contribute anything, right? He wasn't generating leads for himself. I think
That's
a lot
exactly
of his
what
huge numbers.
I said.
Yeah, I think a lot of his huge numbers are kind of built around the fact that the team plays around him, in a lot of the same way that the Lit Club plays around LGA. It's just kind of like, no matter what happens in the game, he's probably going to have a huge share of the gold and a huge share of the damage percentage because we just funnel resources into him, right? And I think that the trench is the same way with their ADC. So I'm curious to see how that pans out in the long run in terms of viability.
Quickly moving on, because we've been on that for a while. Oasis versus TSQA. In this one, we apparently all lost faith in Oasis. Oh, faith in Oasis after their loss.
I think Oasis is the most overrated team in the league.
Yep.
And I do see you guys all put 2-1. I think TSQA, even though I don't know much about them, I'm confident they could 2-0 Oasis.
I think they're gonna give them a Lowy one game and lose.
Yeah, I think
You know
that's
what,
exactly what's gonna
That's
happen.
what every team does.
That's acceptable.
It's Feathers is gonna pull out the Alawi. He's gonna absolutely destroy. And
Yeah, they're
that'll
gonna
be the end
lose
of it.
game 1, give them the Alawi game 2, and then go, oh yeah, we shouldn't do that, and then win game 3.
Oasis,
That's
if
it.
they kept Dracana,
Consistently happens.
I mean,
I think-
without Dracana there, I actually think they hurt themselves more than helped themselves.
Yeah,
Why
Dracana's
is
an
Dracana
amazing
gone?
player.
Was he
dude.
playing poorly?
So
or what happened?
Dracana was moved to sub, and he was like, absolutely not. And he upped and left within, I think, a few minutes of being moved to sub.
Wow, that's crazy.
And that's absurd. I feel like moving Dracana to sub is one of the worst mistakes you could have made.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so wait, maybe the coach is onto something there though, because if the player just immediately leaves after moving to a sub, so I actually recommended something similar to my team, maybe having a flexible player pool. That's why we have so many subs, right? So we have players that play different roles. For example, I play hard carry skirmisher junglers, right? So if Keen has a bad day, maybe I come in and shake things up, right? And they were all aboard that. Keen said, "Yeah, man, I think that's a good way to cheese wins, right?" He didn't threaten to leave the team off of one suggestion, so I think
True.
that's pretty toxic, honestly.
That being
That's pretty toxic.
That being said, I got moved to sub on the trench, and I was better off just not being on the team. I left immediately.
I feel like
Fair
it's
enough.
kind of a situational thing. In this situation, I feel like I just don't see why you're moving Dracana. Like, if there was a reason for it, I could kind of understand it. Like you said, if someone's having a bad day, then yeah, by all means, move them to sub. I just didn't understand the move to sub in the first place. I mean, in the series, he played one of the better games he's played in a while. I mean, he had an unfortunate 0-5 game at the end. But if you're gonna put someone to sub off one game, I feel like that's a little much.
Okay, so in their defense, the only way I could see this being justifiable is his mental. Like, if his
Yeah.
mental was that bad that he got mad, so they had to move him to sub, and then he left because he was still mad, that is the only justifiable thing I could think of.
At any rate, because of Oasis shaking itself up, I think this will give TSQA the opportunity to pull off a minor upset, since they'll just be better practiced together.
Well, you know, Oasis just comes out of left field and slam
Just
dunk
dominates them.
slams
Yeah,
TSQ.
maybe
in the ground.
That is
maybe the comms are
level.
better.
Maybe
comms
we'll
are
have to
better.
see though.
True.
Yeah.
And then we have Lit Club versus Listen to Your Heart. And this one, another consistent one. We all say Lit Club's gonna win.
Lit Club's
I'm
a
not
top
cocky
team.
enough to say we won't lose a game against Listen to Your Heart. So I know how inconsistent we can be. So I'm giving us a lot.
And I think Listen to Your Heart was kind of a sleeper until recently, and very recently when they won against the Trench. Even though it was a little weird of a win, game two
the
they
Trench.
should have lost. In game three, they had Bentel on their side. I don't know,
Oasis is not to be underestimated.
They beat
Yeah.
Oasis.
They beat Oasis.
Sorry,
Yeah, I
I meant
think-
Oasis, not Trench. My bad.
Yeah, I think Listen to Your Heart is one of the teams that we don't want to take lightly at the Lit Club, right? I think that they can definitely. I think any team can beat us, right? But they're one of the teams that I think about. I'm like, okay, we need to actually like maybe do some scouting and stuff and think about how this goes. But ultimately, Lit Club is 6-0 with their starting roster. And even though some of our games have had some like sloppy mistakes, we've had such a dramatic early game lead in every single game that I'm just not convinced that we can play bad enough to lose. That's pretty confident, but I think that my players have earned that level of confidence at this point.
I'm taking this as a
So,
personal challenge.
Yeah, maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I think that this is clean 2-0.
Hey, it'll be some
Yeah,
fun and trash
yeah.
talk if you're wrong. So I'll look
Yeah.
forward to
Yeah,
that.
if he's wrong, I'm
I
gonna
do not shy away from. I think if you're going to trash talk, it's better to do it before the game rather than after. So
Yeah.
that's a level of confidence we have.
Agreed.
And then the last
Okay.
game.
Wait.
Okay,
I want to preface this by saying Lit Club, Listen to Your Heart, and Hibernation all have the potential to be the most improved teams in the league. Right now, it's Lit Club, by far. Lit Club has improved way more than anyone else in the league. Listen to Your Heart and Hibernation are just behind them. I think they both have potential with the new rosters to actually pull out a bunch of wins that nobody expects, which they did. But we still haven't seen that, like, the dominant win. If they pull out the dominant win this week, they could both be a top team.
Agreed.
Yep.
We had to do years of research on Lisa.
Yeah, we did. God, we researched them for like
Yeah.
a week and a half.
We that's actually something interesting. We actually don't focus too much on other teams and just kind of focus on ourselves for the most part. That would be an interesting segment in the future. Team strategies for approaching stuff. But anyway, sorry, I'm tangenting.
Acting valid, bro.
Same.
And then moving on, last one, we got a SF versus TSQBB. Two of the winless teams.
Yeah.
One of them's
Someone's
gonna
gonna
have
get
a
a
win
win.
after this week.
Finally find out who it is.
I
vote
thought-
TSQ, baby.
We've played both of these teams, and I thought TSQBB was better than Shots Fired.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shots Fired, in my opinion, our game was kind of like not even like really reviewable. It was just kind of like such a one-sided stomp. TSQBB did some things against us that like were legitimate. Like they had some level of like coordination and coordinated play, and they just kind of like needed to iron some things out. So I
And,
think
like,
the TSQBB 2-0 this.
Potato is very, very aggressive, which is a double-edged sword because you can both get really good kills and you can also dive in Aatrox level 2 and die. But I think against, if I remember correctly, against Solaros, he didn't do anything at all. And I think Potato can take advantage of that. I do think Shots Fired does take a game, though, just because mistakes happen, and these are both of the winless teams. So
My only game is versus TSQBB, so obviously I'm fond of them. Also, they banned my Leona, which shows they have functioning brain cells.
now we know who's banning against Rockport.
I think their drafts were not the worst either. Like I've seen worse drafts in this league, I think. So I think that they have some
That's
potential.
Schmidt. They kind of just got outclassed, but in a different game with different early game. Their game one was actually really scary until it wasn't.
Yeah. Also, side note on Neptune's behalf, if you're annoyed with us, trashing your teams on this, come do it next time. I would love to have a discussion about
come
this with
trash talk
all the
us.
other
Yeah,
teams.
please don't trash me.
Yeah,
I
This is
didn't
not
like
a
this.
this is not a one-sided thing. Feel free to come trash talk us too.
No
Obviously we
pun
play for certain
intended.
teams, so
No pun intended. It's nice to have a good collective view of what people think.
yeah, I would be curious to hear what everybody else has to say as well.
Plus, the WWE beefs will be great.
Exactly.
It's all kayfabe though. We love you all. And
Except the
everyone's. Look, I love everybody, but
That depends. Do you like giving libations to everybody?
I'm poor as fuck, man.
Oh,
You don't
Tell
have to
me
listen
good
to him. You
reference.
can just ignore him.
I ain't got no booze. I'm sorry. You get your hands off my monkey booze.
All right, tangent.
Over. Okay.
Back on track.
Let's
So
go.
yeah, I think that SF has this. I really do. I think that they're gonna come out of this, and I'm gonna prove you all wrong, or I'm gonna look like an idiot. But it's okay because I already look like an idiot, so I'll take my
You putting
chances.
money on that? I will bet you.
Yeah. So
Two.
I'll see you guys in
Not
the review next week, laughing when you realize I was spot on.
I'll look forward to it.
Yep.
But anyways, that is almost everything. Well, actually, not almost everything. That is everything for this weekly review. I will leave you on the results for this week and the standings that we currently have. And yeah, we look forward to this upcoming week, and we will see you all in the next review. If you are interested in doing the next review, DM me on Discord. I'm a roster staff member. If you can't find me, yeah,
Just message him in Captain's chat.
yeah, that works. Just at me, or else I won't respond because I'm a busy boy. And yeah, that is it.
Thanks.
Thanks for having this on.